Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar today where I'm going to show you how to build a budget-friendly lecture capture system with Microsoft Teams and specifically relate that to tying it in with your learning management system as well. So what I'm going to show you today is a really cool workflow that will enable your teachers to really do nothing different from what they normally do with Teams, but end up with something that is massively different from what they would end up with, and make it available within their LMS. So there's going to be zero learning curve for the teacher, and there's going to be a maximum output at the end. So before we do that, I'm just going to kind of summarize some bits and pieces and go through a few things about Teams and about MEDIAL, and then I'm going to show a demo of how this all works within a browser. So the first thing to say, it's pretty obvious, but Teams is a very affordable way of doing this. You've already spent the money on the licenses with Microsoft. You've already got it. It just provides this kind of cost-effective alternative to a traditional kind of or expensive lecture capture system. The other thing to say is that Teams integrates seamlessly with MEDIAL, the solution I'm going to show you. So in that respect, we can get everything into the LMS, which is where your users want it. And that's what MEDIAL is very, very good at doing. So other reasons to use Teams for lecture capture? Well, it's simple, as we've said before, and there's no learning curve as well. It also, because it has these very versatile ways of sharing content, you share slides or applications, even your entire desktop, users are very, very familiar with it, and it really has very little limitations in terms of what you can do with it. And as well as accessibility as well, Teams now has transcripts in real time coming up. This is a very, very important topic within education today. And we can also add closed captions to those clips within the LMS later on with MEDIAL. So it's just all round a really good way of capturing lessons because there's no learning curve and it does all of the things that you want it to do. Other benefits of it, as I said, very, very cost effective. This is a sunk cost in terms of your organizational spend. Users are familiar with it, and it also has integration with all of the things that you currently use in your Microsoft world, OneDrive, SharePoint, etc. So you're leveraging your existing investment and you're not having to buy any expensive or specialized hardware to do this. You just need the webcam that's on the computer, or maybe the webcam that's hooked up to a lectern PC, and that's pretty much it. A camera and a microphone, done. So how does Microsoft Teams integrate with MEDIAL? Essentially the process is this. You record in Teams as you would normally do. That content gets transferred into MEDIAL, which is our content management system. And there is no manual steps whatsoever in doing that. The workflow that I'm going to show you a little bit later, there's a very, very simple thing that the teachers would need to do to ensure that their clip goes into MEDIAL and subsequently into the LMS. But it's so simple that literally anyone would be able to do this. So you'll see that a little bit later on. MEDIAL is also a great content management system. So it'll organize the content. It will make that content manageable within a CMS system. And we'll also, because we're using MEDIAL, we're then able to distribute very, very effectively that content within a learning management system in the same way that we can't really do when we're putting that content from Teams and then into OneDrive, which isn't a particularly great workflow when it comes to sharing that content within an LMS. So in terms of implementing this solution, it's really just configuring Teams to work with MEDIAL. And those are just a few settings that we're cut and pasting from our Microsoft world into our MEDIAL world. It's a few things we've got to cut and paste across to make this connection work between the two applications. Other things that we've got to do, well, we've kind of got to train people to do this, but the training on it, as you'll see, is going to be very, very simple because there's not really a lot about this new workflow that's very different from their current workflow. And then obviously, as we go along this process and as this becomes a success, we have to kind of monitor and optimize things and make sure that if there's any amendments that need to be made to this workflow, we make them as we go and make sure we improve it. So where does this workflow start? Well, the workflow starts where it currently starts, in Teams. So your users, again, incredibly familiar with this interface. This is kind of, a lot of their working day is spent in here. So there's different ways of getting MEDIAL to ingest content from Teams in terms of what it ingests from Teams. So MEDIAL can ingest all recordings from Teams, absolutely everything. It could ingest just certain users' recordings from Teams. It can ingest only from certain channels. So those are a few of the options that you can do. In my case, what I'm going to show you is a workflow whereby anything could potentially be ingested from Teams into MEDIAL, but it's ingested based on a rule. And this is the way that a lot of our customers use our integration with Teams, because it's a much simpler way of setting things up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this flow. So I would click to meet now, or maybe even schedule a meeting in the same way that I would do normally. And what I've done with my MEDIAL is I've basically set it up so that it would ingest any recording from any of the people within our company that did a recording. However, it will only ingest recordings that have a particular keyword in the meeting title. So in my case, I've set that keyword up to be MEDIAL because that's the name of our company. But you could set this up to be anything. We've got some customers that have set this up to be the name of the LMS, for example, Moodle or Blackboard or Canvas or whatever that particular word is. But this will mean that the teachers, this is the only change to their workflow. They're going to have to put a particular word or a particular keyword in their meeting title, and that will ensure that it gets ingested. So we've done that. We've put the word MEDIAL into our title, start the meeting up. Again, we're doing nothing different from what we would do normally. So we just go here, record, start recording. And what that's going to do, as we know, it will start recording the meeting and it will start transcribing as we go. As we start talking, it will start transcribing the text as well. Once we're done, we could click to leave and that will automatically end the meeting, or we could click to stop the recording and then leave the meeting. So as you know, if you use Teams, where does that recording end up? It ends up here in the chat. So it's going into OneDrive, and if I want to, I can kind of go here as well and view the clip. But this really isn't particularly useful in terms of your LMS, because you're kind of a bit stuck here and you're outside of your LMS. You want something that's embedded within your LMS realistically. So let's have a look at a better workflow. So bear in mind, we've done the recording already within Teams, and now we're in a learning management system. So here is Moodle, but this will work with Canvas, Blackboard, or Desire to Learn / Brightspace. So we'll go into add an activity within Moodle. We'll choose the MEDIAL activity. And here we can obviously add a new video, or we could call it a lecture. And we go to initiate the MEDIAL plugins. So where do these recordings end up? They end up here. So if we go to choose existing media, we'll see all of my Teams recordings in here. So why is this easier? Because instead of going to a completely different website where we've got a link to that outside of the LMS, all that we need to do to add it into Moodle is just click on select. That's it. And then it will add it to the Moodle course page. Done. Very, very simple, very, very easy. And what did the user have to do? Nothing different from what they would normally do. In the case of my workflow, they just had to put the word MEDIAL into the title, but that could be any particular word that you want, or you could just choose to automatically ingest all recordings, not even based on a rule like that. So what other cool things can we do within MEDIAL? As we said before, we can edit the clip. So the editing within Teams itself, after having done the recording, is very, very limited. All that we can do is this kind of basic function here of trimming the clip. So we can do that in MEDIAL as well. Well, that's pretty basic. That's only if we want to kind of take the start and the end off of the clip. You know, there might be a bit of preamble at the start. There might be something at the end that we want to get rid of. But let's take the very, very common example of somebody saying something within the middle of the clip that's potentially a little bit embarrassing, or potentially something that they didn't want to say. So we can do that within MEDIAL as well. We can also do, and this is very, very applicable if we're talking about longer form content like hour-long lectures or hour-long Teams calls, we can also break this clip up and export out little bits of it, which we could have as individual parts of the lesson. And those are much more easily digestible, and they're things that are much more engaging because they're much shorter. And remember, we're doing this all within Moodle. We're not leaving Moodle here. We're doing this all within the web browser, all seamlessly within Moodle without leaving it. And again, this works in any of the LMSs that you happen to use, Blackboard, Canvas, Desire to Learn, etc. Other things of note here as well, which make it very, very easy to share this clip. So all that we need to do is click on this little icon here, click to enable public access, and then we can paste this link here into another browser tab. I've actually already got it here. And then it will just load the media player for anyone to access and anyone to view that clip. So that's a way of making it very, very easy to share outside of your organization. It might have an external user that hasn't got access to Moodle and you want to share it with them. You've got a very clean player here, clean web page in order to do that. Okay, so we've shown the basics, how to simply get this recording into your LMS and kind of use it in a meaningful way in terms of editing it or sharing it or just making it available within a course page. So that's a kind of simple workflow. It's a lot of pain out of the current workflow that you probably have. It just makes it easy to make it available in the LMS. But let's show something a little bit cooler. So imagine we've done our recording and we want to get this recording into Moodle, but we've done this hour-long Teams recording as a teacher, and we want to set our class a quiz on the recording. And we want to do that effortlessly. So we want to use AI to do it. So let's show you how we do that. So here within Moodle, again, this works in Blackboard, Canvas, Brightspace, etc. We go to choose the clip, and we go to build a quiz. And we want to look for a particular recording that we've done. So we go to create a new quiz, and we want to use AI to create some quiz questions for us based on our recording. So let's select our clip. I'm going to select a webinar that I did recently, and I'm going to decide that I want to do a nice quiz on my webinar, and I want to allow skipping, and let's say all the other options I don't want to check. I want to set some questions, so I'll just set 2 questions of each type, and I'm going to leave them at a high difficulty level. So what MEDIAL's done is it's basically created a bunch of quiz questions using AI out of the recording that I've done. So imagine that flow. The teacher does their recording within Teams, just adds a simple word to the meeting recording, it gets automatically ingested, it's available in Moodle, and then they're able to generate an AI quiz out of the recording that they've done. Absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely one of those things that's just a game changer in terms of their workflow. So here it's generated some questions. Let's say I'm not happy with a few of them. I'm not happy with that one. I want to replace it with another one. I choose this one here. I'm not happy with that one. It's a little bit too easy. It's going to replace it with another one. So I can kind of pick and choose the questions that I want to do. I can then go next. This will then take me to a kind of questions editor. I mean, I'm not going to mess about today because we're doing a demo, but I could also add annotations. I could add links over this quiz as well. And then this will automatically put it into Moodle or whatever LMS I'm using. And the really cool thing about this as well is that we can allow this particular MEDIAL quiz to add grades to the gradebook. So that means that not only did we record the lesson and then we've made this amazing quiz out of it, we can make this something that's gradable as well. So it's a really, really easy workflow for the teacher to do this one bit of work, their recording, which they might have even done to the class, and then make a quiz, super simple, super quick, using AI, and then make that gradable, make that part of their course, make it part of the student's grade as well. And here's what that quiz looks like within the LMS. So you can see all of these questions here as we go through the quiz. We're going to see the questions come up, hopefully. And you'll see this has all got the captions on it as well here. So very, very cool. Something that's set up within minutes, and then it's gradable, and the teachers can see the results that the students are getting and their engagement that they've got within the recording that was made. Obviously, it's also important from the teacher's point of view that they can actually see how engaged the students were with the recording or with the media that they uploaded in the first place. So we've got a whole load of analytics for the teacher to see. So everything that the teacher records or uploads, they're able to see that. They're able to see what's being watched, when it's being watched, and even who it's being watched by. So if, for example, we go into a particular clip here, we can see the engagement of the clip over time, we can see the sort of devices, but we can also see the actual people that viewed the clip and how engaged they were with it. And we can sort that by a time period if we wanted to see a particular student that was struggling or somebody that's just watching at the last minute, for example. We can see all of that information here. That's a much richer amount of analytics than what you would see if you were doing this recording and then, say, watching it in the kind of the Microsoft ecosystem. So a question I get quite a lot is from people saying, well, what does the administration system look like within MEDIAL? Obviously in this demo, all that we've seen of MEDIAL is within Moodle or within the LMS. So a lot of people want to kind of see the way this looks. MEDIAL is a content management system. These are kind of all of the options that you can configure within MEDIAL, Teams, Zoom, etc. But we can also see all of the content that's gone into the system by whatever route, whether that's Teams or been manually uploaded. So this is kind of what it looks like, just so that you know how the system kind of hangs together. And obviously it goes without saying that MEDIAL isn't just a tool that integrates and ingests content from Teams. You can do all of these functions within Moodle or any LMS as well, uploading a clip, recording webcam, even recording your screen with our inbuilt screen recording software, which is called MEDIAL Lecture. So that concludes the webinar and the demo. Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen today. If you're a current customer, please feel free to get in touch if this isn't something that you've got set up already within your MEDIAL. If you're somebody that isn't using MEDIAL currently, please feel free to contact me. I'm just rob@medial.com. I'm more than happy to show this. You can have a trial of it if you'd like to. For the purposes of today's webinar, we'll now go into a Q&A session where you can ask any questions. Please feel free to do so. So we'll go into that Q&A session now.